Sorry about that. I forgot to hit the record button.
Oh
That's
my
all
God.
right. That's all right.
We're still live,
So,
you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
So,
Good.
yeah. So I guess shit. That sucked.
No, that's fine. It's
but
good.
yeah, I just when you first told me you were gonna do this, you know, when we had you on the podcast, I kind of thought you were crazy. I dug it though, because it was for a good cause. You know,
Right.
it was for a good cause. The first question my wife had was, how's he doing this without with like his job? Like, how's his job letting him do this? So
Well,
how
I'm a
did that work out?
freelancer. So
Okay,
I'm a
that's what I
freelance
thought.
cameraman. So
Okay.
originally I had planned this last year, and of course that wasn't a possibility.
Mhm.
And so I decided that I was going to do it this year. Last year I knew I was going to be off July and August. That's kind of the thing about reality TV is a lot of times you can kind of pick and choose when you want to work, but sometimes during the summertime it's a little slower.
Mhm.
And so that just worked out great. I finished the trip. I finished the push-ups on Sunday, August 22nd. I flew back. I left Hawaii on Wednesday, got back into Dallas on Thursday at 2, and then flew to Denver at 10 that night to work Sneakercon. So
What's
um,
SneakerCon? Like an actual
Sneakercon.
convention with sneakers?
Oh yeah, it's
Sneaker heads,
huge.
man. It's huge.
Yeah, and
Gigantic. I've heard of this.
yeah, and
Really?
I'll actually be at the
Wow.
Sneakercon in Chicago in a week and a half.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah, it's a 2-day event on September 11th and 12th in Chicago. I think it's at the Rosemont.
Okay.
Oh,
And
I
so,
know that.
yeah, it's huge, man. I didn't realize how many sneakerheads there are out there, and there are thousands.
I met one when I started, where just my very last teaching job I had, there was a guy by the name of Brandon that I worked with, and he told me all about it. And I go to church with a guy, and they're telling me there's like entire rooms full of sneakers. Like Brandon put the down payment on his house by just selling off some of his collection.
Oh yeah,
Really?
I mean, it is. And
Yeah.
from a comic book collector, I go, well, sure, okay, yeah. I mean,
exactly.
change your medium, and you go, okay, yeah, I
Yeah.
get it.
Yep.
Greg, I just remembered we were sitting next to a guy at Joe Rogan
Yep.
who does that for a living. Yeah.
Yep.
I totally forgot about that. Yeah. Yeah. So is that something that somebody sent you, or that's a job for you, or is that something that
That was
you're
a job.
into?
Yeah,
Okay,
that
that's
was a
your
job for me. Yeah, to go and film and set up and do the huge jumbotron. We had a 70 panel LCD screen that we were operating
Cool.
and switching between multiple cameras and stuff. So yeah,
Cool.
and then I'll be doing it again.
So is it with the same promoter? Like you're contracted with them, or okay.
Yeah. So I in between gigs here in Texas, between reality television shows, I met a guy named Mike, and he runs a audiovisual production company here in Dallas.
Yeah.
And so I started doing the corporate stuff, which I prefer the corporate stuff. It pays better than reality television does.
Really?
Yeah. And we before the COVID, we were going and staying at 5-star resorts, filming these CEOs giving speeches to other CEOs. The camera's on a tripod, you just push record. Like it's the gravy job for a cameraman. And then COVID took that down, and Zoom kind of replaced it. So
Wow.
but it's starting to come back. But the Sneakercon was one of those things, and it fell perfectly. Like, I'm done the push-up challenge. I need to get a job. Boom, I'm working that day. So it worked out great.
For those of you that don't know what's going on, that are listening to this on the audio, it's because I pressed record a little too late. We're talking with Darren Hafford. If you guys remember from the last couple podcasts back, he had this I think it's a huge challenge he set upon himself to do 50 push-ups in 50 state capitals for 50 days. So he just got finished, about 3-4 days ago?
Yeah.
And he was gracious enough to jump on this podcast live. And he seems to be the only one ready, other than Greg and I. We had a lot of technical problems setting this up.
It's he shift from Sunday to Monday, and the comedy of errors just takes off.
So what we were talking about while we were trying to fix out the bugs, there's a huge event that you witnessed. I'm guessing you stopped.
Yes.
Take us down this path.
And I need to hear this because I followed everything. I was there with you, and somehow I missed this part. I don't know how. I thought I was keeping up with every day, and I missed this part. So I'm going to be riveted by this. So go ahead.
So it was on. Hold on, just a second. I'm sending my girl your guys' link so she can watch this live.
Woo.
Yeah. So it was.
Like and subscribe.
What was it?
Subscribe.
Yes, like and subscribe. So it was on day 47, Topeka, Kansas. So that morning I woke up in Lincoln, Nebraska, and then drove from Lincoln, Nebraska to Topeka, Kansas, and then went inside of the Capitol. I usually tried to get to the Capitals around 4 in the afternoon. If they closed at 5, some state capitals closed at 6, some closed earlier. It depended on what their schedule was, and I would try to make it in there so I could shoot my interior photos of that state capitol. And then I'd go to a coffee shop from 5 to 7, dump the footage, show back up to the Capitol at 7, and set up my cameras, my GoPros for the push-ups. And then at 7:30, I would do the push-ups. And so that's kind of what the routine became. And so I was setting up the cameras at 7, and a group of bikers showed up from the VFW. My aunt Bonnie, did an amazing job reaching out to VFWs ahead of time to promote me.
Great.
And
good on you, Aunt Bonnie.
Oh yeah. Not only that, she hooked us up for a room upgrade in Hawaii, where we were on the 18th floor with a balcony overlooking Waikiki Beach. So yeah, Aunt Bonnie crushed it.
Wow. Nice.
Yeah. And so
golf clap for Aunt Bonnie real quick.
Yes,
Golf clap.
yes.
Let's give one for Aunt Bonnie.
And so so it was fantastic. And so anyway, drive down, I'm set up, I do the push-ups, I'm talking with the biker guys after the push-ups are done. I had just been interviewed by NBC before the push-ups, and I'm a talker, so the bikers hung around for a little while, and then it started to get dark, and I like it when it gets dark, so the lights come on, so it makes a prettier image for their state capitol.
Absolutely.
Good photography. Yep.
Yeah. And so I'm on the north side of the Capitol, and I'm making my way to the west side of the Capitol, and I'm set up because there's an old church across the street that I liked, and there was a blue light cast from the street lamp. Like they had a black light for the street lamp, which I thought was different and interesting.
Okay.
So I set up to shoot that image, and I all of a sudden I see this little Chinese lady coming through the frame. I'm like, okay, she's coming across, she's walking the sidewalk. I'll reshoot this, once she clears frame.
Yeah.
And then she starts walking towards me, and I'm like, oh, she's realized that I'm shooting a picture. She's coming around the back side of the camera. How very nice of her. And she gets close, and she says, do you have a phone? And I'm like, yeah, I have a phone. And she's like, my car is gone, my mother is gone, my purse and phone are all gone.
Oh my.
And I'm like, oh yeah. And I'm like, oh, okay. And so she calls her husband and tells him, and she's frantic at this point.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And then she calls her sister and is speaking to her sister in Chinese, and starts crying and everything. And so she gets off the phone, and she's extremely distraught. And so I'm like, look, I'm going to call 911.
Yeah.
And I said, we're going to call the police. I said, and the reason we're going to call the police is they'll put an all points bulletin and APB out. Are you sure you parked the car here? And she's like, yes. And it turned out that her and her sister always walk around the state capitol, because it's a huge, huge state capitol grounds. Yeah. And it's great for exercise. And so she always parks at the same spot. Well, her sister couldn't make it that night. So she had walked around and then came back to her mom and was like, look, I'd like to do one more lap. And her mom was like, yeah, sure. And she was in the car was running. She was watching
Oh,
YouTube videos.
How old is this woman?
The mother was 87 years old.
Okay.
Yeah. And so the daughter I would have placed in her 60s.
Okay.
And so so I called 911 and I explained what's going on. And then I see a police officer in an SUV driving down the street. So I flag him down and he stops. And I explained to him what's going on. And I explained to him, look, I was in the military. I was a military police officer for 3 years. You know, get more information from her. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do a perimeter sweep of the state capitol, because maybe her grandmother moved, or her mom moved the car, even though she doesn't drive and she's never driven apparently. And so, but I just wanted to see. And so I made my way from the west side, back around the north side, back around the east side, and then came to the southwest corner of the state capitol. And I could see him and her way off in the distance, like way too far to yell or anything. But I saw the SUV, the red Nissan SUV. And so I made my way towards it. And the window was partially cracked, probably about 4 inches. And I see her hand like holding onto the window. And I walk up.
The grandmother's, right?
The mom, yeah.
Okay, the mom.
Sorry,
Yeah,
the mom. Mm-hmm. And I can tell that you know, something's not right. And and the vehicle is parked at this point. And so I approach, and that's when I see this individual in the driver's seat who clearly does not look like he fits in the picture.
Okay.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, what are these things?
A suspicious character.
Very, very suspicious. And so I'm like, hey, what's going on here? And he's like, oh, I'm just trying to help her out. I said, no, you're not. I said, this vehicle wasn't even parked here. You've moved this vehicle. Like what are you doing?
Yeah.
I said, put the car in park. And he's like, it's in park. Well, it was a new vehicle and it's a touch button. It doesn't have the key ignition. And so he was locked in the vehicle and he couldn't figure out how to get out of the vehicle. Okay.
Oh my.
I think he was either trying to get her out of the vehicle or whatnot, because I'm sure she was screaming. Now, at this point, she starts tapping her chest like this, right? And I'm like, oh,
wait, hang on, Darren. Is she in the passenger seat?
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
And he's in the driver's seat.
Okay.
And so she's tapping her chest, so you're thinking heart attack or something like that, right?
Yeah. And so she's holding my hand through the window.
Uh-huh.
And so I'm like, look, here's what's going to happen. I'm going to call the police and we're going to figure this out. And he's like, oh, and I'm like, well, this is what's going to happen. And so I get on the phone with 911 again. And at this point, I tell him, look, turn off the vehicle, because I don't want him to drive off.
Yeah, of course.
You know? Yeah. And he's like, I don't know how to turn it off. And I said, well, just push that button right there. And so he pushes it. Well, then it unlocks the doors. And so I'm on the phone for maybe a minute or so more with the police, trying to tell them what's going on, or the dispatcher. And he decides, like, he's not waiting.
Fuck that. I'm out of
here. So he gets, and he jumps out of the vehicle, and now he goes to the back door of the vehicle, because it's an SUV. And he opens it up, and he's already got stuff in there. He had a backpack in there and everything. So apparently he had acquired some stuff and tossed it in there and was.
Do you know what was in the backpack? Like, do you know what this is?
I have no idea.
Okay,
no.
So we don't know
if this apparently was there was some lights. He stole some lights or something. I'm not sure. And so I make my way around the back side of the vehicle, and I'm like, I tell the 911 operator, I'm like, I'm going to apprehend this individual. And he goes, don't you put your hands on me, man. And he takes the lamest swing at me. And I'm like, oh,
he didn't know that you just got done doing push-ups.
Right. And I've been doing push-ups.
That's your former military. Take
so
a
I'm like,
ass swing at a Marine.
Yeah. So I'm like, oh, this is going to get a lot more interesting now. And all of a sudden he starts running. And so I start running after him. His shoe falls off in the street, which I thought was funny. And he's now about 3/4 of the way across the street. It's a 4-lane street.
Yeah.
And another police officer pulls up an SUV and gets out. And I'm like, officer, get him on his face. And he's like, what? I'm like, get him on his face. He's like, you get on the curb now. And so the guy gets on the curb. He's like, what the hell's going on? I'm like, I'll tell you in a second. I got to check on the lady. And so I run back to see if she's, and she's still doing the heart thing. And so then a third police officer shows up and he contacts EMTs. And then her husband shows up and I tell him, hey, go get your wife. She's around the corner, and bring her back because she's the one that can speak to her.
Yeah.
So then he does that. And then the fire department shows up and then a ton more cops show up. And this guy is now, he's being handcuffed and I see him in this, and the woman is still holding my hand. Then the daughter shows up and the daughter is like, why he take my car? And the police are like, we don't know, we're trying to figure this out. And she's like, why he take my mom? And again, we don't know. We're trying to figure this out. I want to kill him. I'm like, don't say that in front of the cops.
So wait a minute. So this guy was, so it wasn't like an attempted kidnapping. He was carjacking with a person in the car.
He carjacked,
which would make it kidnapping as well. But
yes,
you carjack and then you look in the passenger seat and go, oh shit. And then you're locked yourself in a smart vehicle more or less because the woman with the fob is across the quad.
Yeah. So all the cops are there, and then I explain to them, I give a statement, tell them what happened and everything, and then I'm like, "Look, guys, I got to get going." And they're like, "What?" I said, "Yeah, I got to finish shooting my pictures of the state capitol here, and then I got to drive from here to Topeka back all the way down to Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, to do my push-ups at 5:30 in the morning because I got to make it to Dallas by 8 because I'm flying to Alaska to do my push-ups in Alaska, and then I'm flying to Hawaii to finish my push-ups there." And they're like, "What the hell are you talking about?" I'm like, "Well, I'm doing 50 push-ups at all 50 state capitals for 50 days for veteran suicide. I was interviewed by NBC. It's coming on at 10 o'clock tonight. If you want to check it out, but I really got to get going because I got to be other places."
Yeah.
And they're like, "All right." So then the family's hugging me, and because the sister also showed up, and then I'm shaking hands with the cops and everything. And then I go and I shoot my photos and hop in the truck. And then the husband calls me because he had my number from when she called.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Look, we in the Chinese culture, they want to present you gifts." And I was like, "Okay." He's like, "So do you live in Topeka?" I said, "No, I'm actually leaving. I'm just driving through." And I tell him what's going on, and he's like, "Are you kidding me?" I'm like, "No, I've just been in your state for maybe 6 hours, and I'm just passing through."
Well, in their defense, it does sound a little nuts. And even when I heard about it, I'm like, "There's no way." And then we talked to you, like, "There's a plan. It's a driving plan. You got." I'm like, "Shit, dude, yeah, get after it."
Yeah. And so they invited me over to their house. And I went over to their house. They had cookies and chocolate covered almonds and coffee for me. And we got some great pictures together. And the lady was super nice, and kept telling me over and over in Chinese that I had saved her life. And I was thankful. And then they presented me with a white envelope and told me not to open it until I left. And then I left and opened it, and it was a very, very generous donation.
Wow.
And then I drove down to Oklahoma. I didn't sleep that night because I needed to make the drive.
Yeah.
And then I drove down to Oklahoma, did the push-ups, then drove to Dallas, caught on a plane, flew to Alaska, did the push-ups in Alaska the next day, and then left Alaska that night and flew to Hawaii and finished in Hawaii.
Wow.
So it was a weird, busy, not a lot of sleep last couple of days, but I didn't have to drive. Like, like I got on that plane and I was just like, yes, finally, I don't have to drive.
So what keeps going on in my head, Darren, is that like you were meant to be there at that time.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like maybe this entire thing that you were doing was for that one moment.
I think so. Yeah. I think God put me there for a reason. And like, I mean,
most definitely.
Yeah. Cause I mean, how else do you explain something like that? Cause I had come up with this idea over 1.5 years ago, and everything would have had to have fallen just perfectly. And if I wouldn't have talked to those bikers as long as I had,
Yeah.
that day.
Yeah, you're right.
If my Aunt Bonnie hadn't reached out to them, they wouldn't have shown up. I would have already been gone.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
it would have, yeah. So anything would have changed that. Yeah.
It's all connected.
Well,
It
and
is-
this is,
it's-
you know, you said by the grace of God you were there, and it absolutely was. And this is what drives me nuts. And I'm going to get a little religious here for the people, so fair warning. But
No.
when you talk about, I mean, that's got to be intelligent design. That
Yeah.
there are so many things, so many factors that would have played into you not being there at that very moment
Yeah.
to watch a woman walk across your frame.
Yeah.
That absolutely, that's intelligent design. That's the hand of God. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
You can't convince me otherwise.
No, and it was interesting because the husband is an American, and his wife is Chinese, and her sister and mother, they all came from Beijing. And we were talking, and we had mentioned, you know, this is an act of God. And Mike was his name, the husband's name.
Oh, I thought you
And
were
he's
like Mike was God.
No.
I'm like, you talk to God?
No. And so Mike was explaining that they were atheists, you know, in China before they came to the United States. And he was like, do you need any more proof? And she's like, no.
Wow.
You know, so
that's really fucking cool when something like that. Yeah, there are moments where God smacks you in the face, and you know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So that's cool. That's cool.
So I know we're gonna lose you on time here because you got to hop on another interview with that news station.
No. They're showing the.
They're showing it.
Oh, they're
I
showing
thought
it.
that I thought you had to call in and do
So
an interview.
you
with
just
their
wanted
lab.
to see your face, Darren.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I have
good.
another interview tomorrow morning with the Beloit Daily News, my old newspaper that I used to deliver newspapers for.
I remember
My
that.
mom walked in and told them that they need to do a story on the former newspaper boy. And so they rightfully listened to my mom because you better listen to my mom.
Yeah.
He's a badass. I made the mistake one time of bragging about how she had killed 2 bears. And she's like, you forgot about the 3rd bear in the bedroom and the wild boar that I shot with a bow and arrow above the dining room table. I'm like, I know, Ma, I know.
Where'd
I
she
brag.
grow up? Where'd she grow up?
Well, she was born in Maine. So she grew up in Maine, and then we moved to Wisconsin when I was 3.
Oh, okay.
You know what? You could have said Beloit, and I still would have believed it.
So yeah.
So okay, so you don't have to run. That's awesome. But
Right.
My question still remains of like after this grand adventure, what's next?
Well, right now, writing a book about the entire process. So I shot, and then a documentary as well. And I'll write the book because that'll help with the documentary. My thought is get all of the details down as fast as I can while they're still fresh. And I've filmed every day. So if you'd like 9 hours of West Texas driving footage, I got you. I don't think you're going to want to watch it. But there are some, there are some beautiful parts of the country that I did get some great driving footage of. But again, the thought is to get it all out written down as quickly as I can, and using the video footage to kind of remind me of how that day went. And then, because originally the thought was I would just do a photo book, you know, 100-page photo book, 2 pages per capital. But now I think that the story, definitely with chapter 47, is going to be very interesting and unique. And then from there, doing the documentary after the book is finished. And then the dream is to become a motivational speaker. So
cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Go ahead.
Are you going to try it again? Are you going to do it again?
I would like to make this a yearly thing if I can. There are definitely changes I would make. One would be I'd like to have an RV and a co-driver.
Yeah, sure.
I bet. Yeah.
I was overly ambitious. I was hoping to post, and I did post almost every day, like a Facebook Live video. But I was hoping to post like a picture that I had taken of the Capitol, And I had hoped to also do more like on camera, like I'm in the Capitol here today, and giving a little bit more history of the Capitol. I wanted it to be more educational, and I do have some of that footage. It's just I got tired after a while. The first
sure.
16 days were more driving than the last 32 states combined. So yeah, the drive from Washington to Montana, from Montana to North Dakota, those were back-to-back over 600-mile days. So I was averaging at in the beginning, the first couple of weeks, 500 to 600 miles of driving a day.
Wow.
And it was just
any type of, besides the immense heat in Phoenix, any type of weather you ran into?
Weather was it was really hot in Boise, Idaho, of all places. They were having this record-breaking heat wave there, and so the hottest was in Phoenix was 106 at 7:30 at night. When I did the push-ups, I would try to do the push-ups at 7:30 so that if people wanted to come out, they could get off work and come out. It's a little cooler then, and not only that, it allowed me more driving. So I try to do most of my driving at night because the sun beating through the windshield. Also a lot more traffic during the day. If you're driving at night, I mean, it's so much easier, especially with the construction and stuff. And you have a lot less bonehead drivers out there. You're usually driving with professional drivers, semi drivers. So it's a much better drive to do at night. But there were days where I would start driving at night, after I did the push-ups, then I would shoot my night photos. I'd try to get on the road somewhere between 9 and 10, try to drive for like 5 or 6 hours if I could, depending on how tired I would get. And then I would sleep in the front passenger seat of the truck on days that I didn't have a family member or a place to stay. And so that really wore on me. But Love's has shower facilities. So you pay $13 and they provide towels and a shower and your own bathroom and everything. So I did that a few times. And then I had stopped at different friends. So I stopped in Denver at my Aunt Joni's. I stopped at my cousin's place in Idaho. I stopped at my aunt's in Oregon. I stopped at my buddy's house in northern Wisconsin, and then at my parents' house in southern Wisconsin, my brother's in Ohio, friend that I knew from the Marine Corps. I stayed at her and her man's place in Virginia. I stayed at my new girlfriend from the trip, Jen.
You met her on the trip?
Place. So yeah, so we had actually met before, but didn't know each other. So we grew up 3 blocks from each other in Beloit, Wisconsin.
Oh, she's another okay.
Okay, so and she went to a different elementary school than I did, even though we were 3 blocks away from each other. And then she went to a different junior high because I moved to the other side of town in 5th grade. Then we went to high school together, but the high school, we had a graduating class of over 400 students. So we didn't know each other then.
Remind me again, what, because I'm from that area. What high school?
Memorial?
Memorial. Yep. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And so, and had she met me in high school, she would not have dated me.
Isn't that always the case though?
Oh, absolutely. Well, because most people don't know it, but I was the smallest guy in high school. So I didn't grow until I got in the Marine Corps. So I graduated at 17. I joined the Marine Corps, and my first day of Marine Corps basic training was my 18th birthday. And I went in at 5'4", 120.
That's right. I remember that.
And then I grew 7 inches and put on 65 pounds.
He was a little guy.
I was a little, because they were like, does your mommy know you're out playing
Marine? That's right. They had you on the double meal thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so, so she had reached out on Facebook. We had connected at the 30-year reunion. Okay. And we were friends on Facebook. And so she had reached out saying, hey, if you need a place to crash or do some laundry or whatever, I really want to support this trip. She was a firefighter for 10 years. She was a lieutenant in the fire department.
Awesome.
So she's a huge heart and just loved the cause. And so I got to Albany, New York, and had some car issues. The front brake caliper on the driver's side fell off and was grinding against the inside of the driver rim.
Sounds safe.
Yeah. And so I pulled over, got it taken care of, and then drove that night from Albany, New York up to Vermont. And she rode her Harley to Vermont. And we met at this little coffee shop. And then I followed her back from Vermont. She watched me do the push-ups in Vermont, then followed her back to New Hampshire, and because she was putting me up on the couch. And something was wrong with the truck. I had just spent $1,771, and there was something really wrong with the truck. It felt like the whole front end was going to rip off. So I was like, oh man, and she's like, just be cool. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
I've got the weekend off. So I've got a car. Like, we're going to get this done. You're going to be fine. And so I called the next morning, and they were closed because it was a Saturday. And so she's like, we're going to just do what we're going to do. So we drove up to Maine on Saturday. We drove to the state capitol in New Hampshire together. And then I took the car in on Monday morning, and I was fearful because I had called the garage, and they're like, well, it sounds like it could be the transmission. And we didn't do that. And I'm like, God, I hope it's not the transmission, because if it's the transmission, the trip is over. I can't afford to fix the transmission, buy a flight to Alaska, buy a flight to Hawaii, still do the rest of the trip. It's just not going to happen. And so I'm walking back feeling pretty down and dejected at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And I spent probably an hour or two just kind of upset and sulking and depressed and wondering, where am I going to go from here? And praying like something needs to happen here. And so we go back to the garage, and he's like, it's all fixed. I'm like, what? And he's like, yeah, you were missing a bolt, a nut on one of the bolts for your brake caliper, and you were missing a whole other bolt and nut assembly. You should have 4. You had 2.5. And I was like, oh my God. And he goes, it's all fixed. You're good to go. So then we parked it, and she and I drove down to Boston, did the push-ups at Boston, and then came back. And so I ended up staying on the couch at her place. I was at her place for 6 days.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Because
you kept going to different capitals and coming back?
Yeah. Because it was so close. Now, had this happened anywhere else on the trip, I would have been screwed. But when the state capital for the next state is 50 miles away.
Yeah, that's another hand of God thing.
Easy. Exactly. Wow. So truck was fixed. She had to go back to work on Tuesday. I drove down to Providence, Rhode Island, did the push-ups there, drove back up to New Hampshire, drove back down to Connecticut. She drove after she got off work that day. She drove down to Connecticut, did the push-ups in Connecticut, and then I went to Dover, Delaware, and continued on. And then she met me in Dallas, and we flew from Dallas to Alaska, and then she went to Hawaii.
Oh, very cool.
She is on right now listening, by the way, so she heard that entire story. So
awesome. Well, she saved
hello,
the
Jennifer.
Trip. She saved
the savior of the trip.
Yes, she is
that's
cool
nice
ass woman. Yeah,
that is nice.
Cool.
So,
if anybody else out there has questions they want to throw out, like where was the prettiest place you visited? What's the best state? What's the suckiest state?
What about what were you eating, man? I mean, how was your diet on this?
It wasn't great. It really
beef
wasn't
jerky
great.
and Mountain Dew.
A lot of beef jerky, sunflower seeds.
So you were smelling really good.
Well, because there were days that I'd go 3 days without a shower, sleeping in the front seat of the pickup truck, and I was glad I was the only one in the pickup truck. Because I'm driving, and then I'm doing the push-ups. And then, driving some more and not showering.
In the humidity, in the middle of summer.
The worst. So 106 in Phoenix, 102 in Boise, Idaho, which still blows my mind. 98 in Georgia with a humidity of like 1,000%.
I
I think it
believe
was.
that. I believe that.
Because
Swamp ass.
I got done doing that set of push-ups, and I described it as, when you open a slice of American cheese and you pull the plastic off, that's how the shirt came off.
I was
You
going to
know,
say your
just-
underwear came off the way because I can imagine it came off
yeah.
that.
Yeah. You're just like, oh, this is disgusting. Why did I do this in the summertime? Oh, wait. Yeah. I don't want to be doing this in the winter.
No, you
Right.
definitely don't want that.
Yeah.
So what was the
Iowa most beautiful capital?
Yeah, it was Iowa.
Oh my God. And I had no idea.
What
I
made it
grew
the
up
most
in Wisconsin. One, it has 5 domes.
Okay.
So it has a
Really?
dome on all 4 corners, and then it has a central dome.
So almost
the
like the Taj
interior-
Mahal.
Yeah. So before I had gotten to Iowa, it was Harrisburg, Pennsylvania was the most beautiful capital. Now, before that, it was Wisconsin. Wisconsin's interior capital is
So
absolutely
cool. Yeah,
it
is
the
awesome.
Murals, the marble. I mean, it is gorgeous, and it's easily in the top 10 most beautiful capitals. But for me, Iowa, because it was not only the interior but also the exterior. And then number 2 would be Springfield, Illinois, which was designed by the same architect who did Iowa, and he was from Paris. And so it looked like you were going in Versailles. So Springfield, Illinois' state capital is also gorgeous. The most beautiful capitals actually are Midwest. Really gorgeous, gorgeous capitals.
So I put a plug in that Wisconsin has the tallest state capital, only a few feet shorter than the national capital.
Oh, okay. And Albany, New York, I felt like I was on the set of Batman. Very gothic.
Ooh,
yeah,
I like it.
It's very cool.
I'm gonna do push-ups here.
Yeah, and then you have North Dakota, Louisiana, and Nebraska all have high-rise capitals. They're just huge. Yeah, and so the story I was told was that Huey Long, the governor of Louisiana, saw the state capital in Nebraska and told them to design it like that, but make it bigger. And so, and it's very Art Deco inside. So there's an old movie called Rocketeer, which came out before Rocket Man. Or,
Greg, you want to show them what you got over there?
This is my little partner.
Oh, well, then yeah.
Oh my God,
dude. So I felt like I was on the set of that movie because of the Art Deco stuff in North Dakota's state capital. Dude.
I freaking love that movie.
Well, then you need to go to North Dakota.
I think I do because
check that out.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
I was like, oh my God, the lighting fixtures and the hallway, and it's just very, very
well.
good.
And to be honest, I love that Art Deco style anyway. I mean, if I like when I do my basement, I think it'd be pretty cool if I did that.
Okay. Well, then you would definitely love
North Dakota.
North Dakota. Yeah. Most of the other capitals have the traditional kind of dome like look to them. What was kind of disappointing was at the end, both Hawaii and Alaska, I couldn't get inside because it was the weekend. And the Alaska looks like a regular building. Hawaii is very different. It's almost like a temple because you walk in and it sits above you kind of thing. And it was under renovation. A lot of the state capitals were under renovation. I also learned that about 20 state capitals have burned to the ground throughout history, which I found fascinating.
I'm sure.
And so, yeah, there was a lot of history to learn. And a lot of places are very proud of their state capital, some more than others. I found it interesting when I was in South Dakota because they are the second smallest city in America to have a state capital. And I was like, which one is, and before I could even ask which one was first, when I started to say which one, they're like, Vermont. Like, okay. But South Dakota was great because there's so few people in South Dakota, and I had like 25 biker guys show up.
That's awesome.
Oh, cool.
And like 4 of them got down and did push-ups with me.
Very cool.
Wow. Yeah. So, and that was the other thing is I had a lot of people that would jump in and do push-ups with me.
Yeah.
So, I always had this little guy. don't know where I put it. Oh, here.
Yeah, and that was one thing I wanted to highlight because I don't think I had it. I think we talked about it before I hit record. Was that how much love you found traveling the United States?
Mhm.
Where I think a lot right now, you get this sense that everybody hates everybody, and
No.
and it's good to hear that like people were willing to help. That guy that fixed your car, he didn't charge you, right? Like he was
No,
just like, we're good.
yeah. So our air conditioner got fixed for free.
Yeah.
Screw in the tire got fixed by another shop for free. Free oil change in South Dakota.
Awesome.
So yeah,
Wow.
there were people buying food for me. Just the overwhelming amount of love that America has for its veterans is not spoken of enough. I don't
Awesome.
think, you know.
Awesome.
And what was great is, so I have this little guy here. I call him Uncle Sammy. I have one glued on the dashboard, and then I always put one when I would do the push-ups. And so I'm in Wisconsin, and a friend of mine that I had worked with, Tara, and I had worked with her at Popeyes in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. And her little 7-year-old daughter got down and cranked out some push-ups.
Cool. Oh, nice.
All
That's
right.
awesome.
And so, yeah. And so I felt, and I had a bunch of little Uncle Sammy statues. I had probably close to 20 of them. And so I gave her one, you know, and then the next day I called Tara and I was like, hey, just let her know, you know, that he's been to 16 capitals, you know, and take care of him, please. And she's like, when we got home, she asked for a washcloth because his face was dirty. And I was like, oh, that is so cute.
Yeah, that's
like,
cute.
You know,
Nice.
So yeah, there was my first company gunny from the Marine Corps, Gunny Elkindeer, who now lives in Wisconsin. 75 years old, showed up, cranked out the push-ups with me at the state capitol in Madison.
Nice.
Yeah,
My buddy Brian Ralston was there. Jefferson Horwath was there. Lisa was there. I know I'm forgetting a couple. Jeremy Suter was there. So I had a good crew of people. I forget the other kid's name. There was one other kid that was there. That's family. That was also doing the push-ups in Wisconsin. And
Cool.
then Harley people showed up. So yeah, it was just very interesting because in South Dakota, I had met these two women at breakfast, these elderly ladies, and then they showed up that night to watch me do the push-ups, and they were surrounded by all these, they're surrounded by all these biker guys. And I'm just like, so that made a cool picture. So yeah.
Is there any place that on your travels that you thought, you know what, if I didn't have this like goal, I think I'd stay here a little bit and soak this up?
Oh yeah. If I was to do it again, I'd want to do it in 100 days because
take time.
Because there were times when I was driving and I'm like, I've got 10 minutes to get inside this Capitol to try to take as many pictures of the inside as I can before they close the state Capitol. And a lot of times they would close the Capitol and they'd be like, just hurry up.
Yeah.
Just
the security dudes
love,
like, hey, man, come on.
Because most of them were police officers. A lot of the state capitals are all police officers, and a lot of them are retired police officers. So they loved the mission, you know, and that was what was also great, you know, is just people helping out. I had a senator in Utah walk me around and give me a tour, you know, just because she liked what I was doing.
And
which was amazing.
Did she hear you were coming beforehand, or was it like you showed up and she's like, oh, bring that guy over to see me?
No, she was actually unlocking a door and the key didn't work. And I was walking past her and I said, hi, I hate it when that happens. And she's like, yeah, me too. And then we got to talking and then boom, she showed up and watched me do the push-ups that night.
Wow.
You know, so she had left, gone home, and then came back to the Capitol and watched me do the push-ups. So yeah, it was just overwhelming how much love and support there was for this mission.
That's great. Greg, are there any questions that people are throwing out there that, or no?
Well,
not at 9 and 10 at night. What time?
Well, no. I mean, the questions I have, I think, you know, I could say, because when I like to travel, it's like, well, what kind of food did you get when you're there? And I try to bring it, but you didn't have time to like even
Yeah,
what's
kind of like a blitz.
yeah,
Yeah.
what's like if you travel to, I'm just gonna say Madison. Like, so if you travel to Madison, they say, and you said, well, where should I go?
Right.
And then if they say, well, State Street Brats is, 5 blocks down that way, that's something you could do. But if you're somewhere else and they're like, well, there's this place across town that's like, famous in this town, and you're like, I don't have time. I mean,
Yeah.
so I
Well,
understand the wanting
only
to do
that,
another day.
Not
Yeah.
only that, but you have to kind of watch out what you eat because you're constantly moving. And if you're anybody like me, like if you get like something that does not agree with you, you don't have the time to sit there
Right.
and deal with that.
Yeah.
Right.
Or want to deal with that. Because I can't imagine like you just sick to your stomach or Taco Bell and all of a sudden you got 16 hours and you're like, I gotta find a place to pull over.
Yep.
I don't think you want to deal with that. So
I think the best meal was probably Boston, Massachusetts.
I love
Jen,
Boston.
Jen took
I
me
love
to a
Boston.
really nice, fancy seafood place, and she doesn't like seafood. And
Is
I had the
she a
pepino.
Pats fan? She a Pats fan?
She's unfortunately Bears.
She's a Bears fan. Yeah, because
Yes.
she's from Beloit.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
I knew you'd like that, Johnny.
Good
I
job,
told her that
Jen.
your dad was a bear.
Good
She's like,
job,
"What?"
Jen.
I'm like, ugh.
Good job,
Yeah.
Jen.
Well,
I was
it's not-
joking with her in Hawaii about it, and it was the only time I saw her slightly maybe get upset. And she's like, I would just suggest stop talking about the Bears. And I was like, oh.
Yeah.
She goes, I also like the Patriots because she moved away a year after high school. She moved to,
Yeah.
Oh, so it's been a while since she's been.
Well, so she's lived in Vermont.
New Hampshire.
Okay, New Hampshire. So
New
yeah,
Hampshire.
you get caught up with the winning teams and like
Oh,
this
yeah.
year, the Bucks, when the Bucks were in, I was like, hell yeah, I'll watch this. This is a ride. Like this is
Yeah.
great. So yeah, I
Yeah,
get
so-
that. I get
So
that.
I that's if there's a single fault that Jen has, it would be that she's a Bears fan. Yeah.
Nobody's
But
perfect.
nobody's perfect.
Nobody's perfect, and
I
she's cute.
agree.
I can tell.
I agree.
So then you're good.
And the Packers were almost perfect at that 15-1 season.
Yeah,
Have
almost.
the Bears ever had that kind of season?
Yeah, we went 15-1 in 1985. Greatest team ever. That
Oh, yeah,
one.
hanging on to 85.
Yeah, that's all we
still.
got, man. That's all we got. Or do we have something new with this Justin kid? I'm telling you.
Maybe.
How many times have I heard about that new quarterback? In
I
Chicago?
know. That's all we got, Darren. That's it. Like we don't like grow quarterbacks like you, Darren and Greg.
But we've been spoiled.
Yes, you have no
Absolutely.
idea. You have no idea.
Oh, we do. We
remember. No,
We
you
re-
don't.
Yes, I do.
No,
yeah.
you don't.
I re-
Because by
I
the
re-
time you actually paid attention, Favre was already there.
No,
I
I remember,
remember
the
4 and
Mikowski
12.
years and like
Forrest Gregg coaching. Yeah.
Yeah. What was that one season?
I
No, dude, the 70s and 80s were horrible.
No, the 70s and 80s. No, actually, the 80s were good for us. I think that's the only
80s were
decade,
great
really.
for Bears. Yeah.
That was pretty much the only decade we were really solid. That's when we had a general manager that knew what he
Yeah.
was doing.
Well, and you guys had Ditka, which didn't you dance with Ditka's wife once?
Why would you bring that up?
Because, dude, because you gotta have balls to
Oh
ask
yeah,
out
I
Ditka's
didn't
wife to
know that.
dance.
I didn't know that at the time. That was back in the day when if Johnny had a few drinks, Johnny would just dance with somebody. Like
I don't think I've heard this story. I think Darren should tell it.
No,
Well,
no,
he was
Johnny's
there.
much better. I
Yeah,
wasn't there.
Yeah, he wasn't there. No, I didn't know that. I had no idea I was there. And I
Didn't he come up to you?
yeah. Me and Dicka don't get along. Like it
Bro,
just,
how have I not heard this?
well,
story?
I don't. You know what? Darren has a great memory of all of my missteps.
How many years
So
we've been online for how? And
yeah,
now
you know
I'm
what? I don't.
just learning.
Yeah, I
I feel betrayed.
That might be another podcast one day.
Lying by
Yeah.
omission
My dance with Diane.
is.
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy.
To be honest, I don't think she knew what was coming either. Like it was.
Oh no!
I was in my 20s.
Nobody
and,
ever sees the Johnny coming.
Yeah,
He just
I was in my 20s,
right in
and
and
man,
he's
those
like,
hips
"Hey,
could
baby."
gyrate back in the 20s, and so yeah. So Darren, you did 50
Move.
states.
Yeah.
Oh man! Smooth.
Yeah. So I like this Jen girl already.
Oh yeah.
I think we can give a thumbs up. If she's still listening, she's still on? She's still listening? Probably not. Oh
Well,
no, I don't. What
I
can how
think-
can you tell
She's
if
an hour
anybody's on?
ahead.
Is anybody
no,
even on?
Well, yeah, we've got currently 2.
2.
Yeah. And it's not letting me click to see who it is, but she's commented a few times. We're going back
cool.
and forth, getting to know each other, you know.
Oh,
Cool.
good.
Cool.
Yeah, she's an
Um,
awesome chick.
Yeah,
Good.
very cool.
Yeah. So
I can only assume the other one is Marshall, but
that's our number one fan, Darren.
yeah.
The guy named Marshall. He's a cool guy.
Nice.
Also
Nice.
a Bears fan, but again,
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Bears fan. Bears fan.
nobody's perfect.
But you know, guys, hold up. This year, we're all excited about Justin Fields, but what's going to happen is that we're going to all come back to reality because we don't have his O-line. And if anybody watched the Super Bowl last year, if you don't have an offensive line, it doesn't matter if you're Patrick Mahomes. You can't get a ball off.
No.
I
so
will admit, I bought
we're
raffle
screwed.
tickets. I bought raffle tickets this weekend at an event, purely because one of the top prizes is tickets to the Packers Browns game, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I want to go to that game.
Darren, we have the Johnny and the Greg podcast have adopted the Cleveland Browns.
We have
because we just for years we
Baker
would
Mayfield?
feel I like him
a
I
little
like
bit.
him.
I like him, but it's also like it's the underdog, man.
It's
I
the Browns.
I want to see
It's
them.
the Browns. You were like
Yeah.
they're good. Like last year watching that game against Kansas City in the playoffs, I'm like, oh my god, they're gonna win this. Oh my god.
Yeah. You're
Yeah.
like, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. Oh,
Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah. My buddy's a Bills fan. And I
Bills
was
are
just
awesome
like,
too.
Yeah.
That's a
but
great fan base too, man.
They are.
Yeah, they
and,
are cool.
and the Packers have never won in their stadium,
No,
which was built in 1973. Because I went to Buffalo, and every 3 feet I was told that as I wore my Packer jersey. And,
no
and I
Packers
told
never won
them,
here.
yeah, and then I told them, well, it's going to happen today, Aaron Rodgers, and then Eddie
And it
Lacy safety, so we lost.
Was
Oh.
is it the Bills fan base that's like super nice? Like,
They're like Wisconsin fans. They're just
Well,
like
but-
Packer fans. They love to drink. They love to eat.
Break
They're
tables.
just break
well,
tables.
but even like I think it was like somebody
Oh no, yes,
like-
the Bills
like-
Mafia. Yes.
the Bills, but like
They-
oh,
like,
yeah.
Yes.
like their
They,
opponent was trash talking them, and so they're like, oh yeah, we'll watch this, and then they donate thousands of dollars to that
Yes,
guy's
to a
charity.
To a charity.
They're like,
Yeah.
what do you think of that? Huh?
Yeah. It's
No,
like
they're-
it's
dude,
like
Buffalo
the best
is
revenge.
great. And
Yeah.
their food, oh my god! I mean, obviously Buffalo wings.
How many
you know,
football stadiums have you gone to, Darren?
I've been to the Dome,
What do you mean the
And,
dome? Like Atlanta?
the old Dome in Minnesota, where I watched
Okay.
Brett Favre
Oh.
lose, and then
Okay.
I watched Brett Favre beat the Bears in Green Bay.
I hear that dome's collapsible. Is that
Yeah,
true?
yeah. And then I watched Aaron Rodgers. I saw him lose against Buffalo, and then I saw him win 55-8 against the Tennessee Titans, which was
Okay.
glorious. And that was at Lambeau Field. So
Cool. I was there at the Lambeau. I was there at the playoff game where they played Matt Hasselback, and he said, "We want the ball and we're going to score." And he threw a pick six. Then the next play, yeah, I was there watching that. I was rooting for the Seahawks that day because I don't root for Green Bay.
right.
I have a huge respect for Green Bay and what they do. There's
Right.
many podcasts that we've talked about this, but I remember looking over at my friend Aaron and going, that sucks for Seattle, but that was pretty fucking kick ass. That was pretty cool. That was pretty cool. So hey, real quick, because
Mhm.
this is all anybody wants to talk about right now is in the sports world. What's your thoughts on Aaron Rodgers? Like
Oh,
to me, it's deja vu again with Brett Favre, isn't it? It's just deja
Yeah.
vu.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, if we go all the way back to Brett Favre, I don't know what the management was thinking letting go of Mike Holmgren. Because Mike
think-
Holmgren,
Oh, did they let go of him? I thought he wanted to go.
he wanted to be general manager.
Oh, he wanted.
They
more
wouldn't give it
control.
to him.
Okay.
He left. We had Ray Rhodes for 1 year. We went 8-8. Then we had Mike
wow.
Sherman.
Yeah.
And then they gave Mike Sherman general manager. And I was like, why did you do that? Because he didn't win the Super Bowl. And after Holmgren left, it became the Brett Favre show.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know, and then Aaron Rodgers, Mike McCarthy, and now it's the Aaron Rodgers show.
Yep.
You know, and I mean, I don't understand how you don't give Aaron Rodgers the ball on 4th down with 8 yards to go, and you kick the field goal instead. Like and you hope to get the ball back from Tom Brady at the end of the game with 2 minutes left.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know who thought that idea was a good idea, to give Tom Brady the ball at the end of the game and think you're going to get it back from Tom Brady. Like, that just seems like football 101, you know.
Yeah.
Don't give the ball to Tom Brady. Okay. All right. Rule number 1.
All right. Fucking
Got
calm
it.
down. All right. You lost.
You know?
Live with it.
But it sucked, man. I mean,
Of course it sucked. It was
horribly.
embarrassing. It was embarrassing because that's all you guys
and so-
wanted was a home game, NFC Championship game. That's what you wanted.
Everything on the line, 4th down. Here's what, think of Joe Montana. Think of all of I mean, when you were a kid playing in the backyard, it's 4th down. You're trying to get to the Super Bowl. Hey, let's kick this field goal instead.
Yeah.
You've got them pinned. So even if you don't get it, they're all the way. They've got 92 yards to go. And instead, you're going to give them better field position with the kick. Like, no one thought to question that.
No, you know
Oh,
what?
I think plenty of people thought to question that.
Yeah, I'm sure.
The whole
Rodgers
stadium
wanted to
people were
ask a
like-
couple of.
And I'm sure it's really super simple to sit there and armchair quarterback that
Right.
entire game.
Agreed. But here's the thing: everyone talks about how great LaFleur is. What's his season going to be when Rodgers is gone?
Well, that's the key.
That's
for
when you're
everyone.
gonna find out
Everybody
how good a
talks
coach
about
he is.
Patrick Mahomes and how great he is. Well, let's see how good he is when he doesn't have Kelsey or Tyreek Hill
Mhm.
or Andy Reid calling up the
Yeah.
plays. Let's see.
Yeah.
But
the
no,
Buccaneers did it perfectly. They
Yeah.
went out and got Tom Brady and said, "What do you need?" And Tom was like, "This list," and they said,
Yeah.
"Okay."
yeah,
Antonio Brown.
yeah. I don't think you if you're expecting. Here's my thing with Aaron. God, I've done this enough. I feel Aaron Rodgers. Now, I like Aaron Rodgers. I actually like him. I actually think if I had sat down and had a beer with him, I like him. But I think somewhere along that conversation, he would say something that would make me go, "You're kind of a fucking dick, aren't you?" Like, and I just think that's who he. I think that's who he is. I think he's a diva. I think it's all about him, and that's to me. And I could be wrong. I don't fucking know. But when he has a hard time. I've heard enough people that leave the Packers organization saying like, "Hey man, he's not that cool of a guy." Like he holds on to things. He remembers when a guy called him an asshole in the 4th grade, and he calls him up now and says, "Haha," like he's that guy. I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that he's where he's at now because he's that guy. But I just don't think.
But you get rid of Jordy Nelson, number 1 receiver. You get rid of Randall Cobb, number 2 receiver. The number 3 receiver becomes the number 1 receiver, who is amazing, but you don't replace Randall Cobb or Jordy Nelson with anybody else that is even close to that caliber.
Well, I mean, you don't grow on trees.
No,
the thing is, if Aaron's as good as, do you think he's top 5 all time? Not that you've seen. I'm talking about like GOAT.
I think so. Because a lot of drop balls last year.
Shit. You're so full.
A lot of drop balls last year.
So full of shit. He's not. He doesn't deserve. He's not. He doesn't deserve to be.
He is the most accurate quarterback ever. He hasn't gotten the wins.
You just talked about drops. How is he accurate?
It's not him. He can't catch the ball like Drew
Brees. It's not him. It's Drew Brees.
Oh,
most accurate. So? I know so.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, Darren, you did 50 push-ups.
Yes, I did 50 push-ups at all 50 state capitals in 50 days.
You should now do over 100 push-ups in 32 NFL stadiums.
I'd love to do that. And
that's my retirement goal. to
Yeah.
follow the Monday Night Football crew for an
Oh.
entire season.
Oh
I would
God.
love to do
Dude,
that.
that would be awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
But I'm
I
married and I can't do that.
there were a few days. There were 5 days I did 100 push-ups, and there was one day that I
Why?
did
Why'd you
150
do 100?
push-ups. News crews.
Oh, you had to
Oh.
redo them?
So I would do them early in the day to try. So if the news crew did them, that showed up early in the afternoon
Yeah.
for the 5 o'clock show to try to get people to come for the 7:30 push-up challenge.
Yeah.
So I did a few extra that way. And then when I was in Annapolis, Maryland, so I came down, I hit up Washington, D.C. When I first planned this, I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to get to the Capitol in Washington, D.C.
Yeah. How's that look now?
Looks great. Fence is down. Looks
Oh,
great.
it is good.
Yeah, fence was down, so I stopped. I did the push-ups in front of the nation's capital. Then I made my way over to the Marine Corps Memorial in Arlington there.
No problems with
and-
COVID or nothing like that. Nothing.
No, now there were, depending on what state I was in, determined on whether I had to wear a mask
Right.
Mhm.
inside the Capitol or not.
Mhm.
And what I found interesting is there were a couple of capitals like, this room is not open to the public because of COVID. And I'm like, well, then how is the rest of the building open? Like, does the COVID not know not to go into the Supreme Court?
It sees the
Okay.
door and goes, whoa.
Yeah. So
Well, that's where we keep the donuts, man. Okay.
yeah.
That's where we keep the donuts.
And so I did 50 for the Marine Corps Memorial in Arlington there.
Yeah.
And then I dedicated those to a guy named Herschel Woody Williams, who's the last living Medal of Honor recipient from World War
Yes,
II
I
at
remember.
Iwo Jima.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
And then I also dedicated them to him, to my buddy Myers Jackson, who's a Marine, to my dad, who's a Marine, and my stepdad, who's a Marine. So I did 50
Very
there.
cool.
And then I did 50 that night at the state capitol in Annapolis. So I did 150 that day.
Very cool.
And the
So
next day was a struggle.
I'm sure it was a struggle. And I think what you did was really cool. And I'm so happy that you had support where strangers were helping you out and
Mhm.
they were behind you about that. To close this out, Darren, what's the one thing you pulled away from this entire experience?
How many good people there are out there. There's
Don't give up, right?
Far more good people out there than there are bad people.
Yeah.
And
The
the
media.
love, yeah. And the love in America is very strong for its fellow Americans and for its veterans. It's just, it was amazing. You know,
Yeah.
that was the biggest thing was complete strangers just saying, look, I like what you're doing. Keep it up. And
Mhm.
encouraging me to keep going. Because there were days, man, I was like, I don't know if I can keep doing this.
Yeah, we talked about that. Yeah.
You know, it got to be a grind at some points, you know.
Of
And
course.
then
yeah.
I'd meet somebody, you know, I met a guy in Georgia who had told me he had tried to commit suicide 3 times. And
wow.
I was like, dude. And we got to talking, you know, and I said, think of it. He's like, I want to share your story, man. Can I do that? I said, yeah, absolutely. I said, think of it as a relay race. I said, somebody is doing better than you are right now. And somebody's doing a lot worse than you are right now. And that
Yeah.
person that's doing better than you is going to hand you off that baton. And you're
Mhm.
going to pass that message to the guy behind you. And he's going to do the same thing. And that's really what it is everyone's at different stages in their life, you know. Some are on a high, you know, because life is up and downs. And
Yeah.
so if you're at the high, you know that there's going to be a down coming and it's going to, you know, it balances itself out. And, you know, when you're at a high, just look at that guy that's having a tough time and, you know, hand him out, bring him up. And that's all we really need to do. We're the United States of America. We're not the
Mhm.
divided states of America. And the United States of America is alive and well. And so that was a great thing to realize and to see just how much generosity there is from people out there all over this country.
Yeah. That's awesome, man.
Mhm.
Greg, usually I throw it to you at this time to close us out, but I think Darren did a
Yeah,
great job.
I think
so
we're good there.
Yeah.
Thanks, man.
So for everybody that listened, thank you very much. For everybody that's going to listen, thank you very much. Darren, awesome job, man. I thank you for jumping on, giving the little guys a little shine here. We appreciate it.
Thanks, dude.
Thank you for stopping a kidnapping and a carjacking. And dude, I'm proud of you, man. I love you, brother.
Yeah,
Love
absolutely.
you guys too, man.
Yeah.
I'm thankful
Cool.
that you guys had me on the cast, dude.
Yeah. All right, man. So for Darren Hafford, the push-up master, the Greg, this is Johnny. Podcast out, everybody. Have a great
Hey
day.
guys.